What's going on, Buff Nation? Welcome back to another video. Happy Sunday to all of you out there. What a football game yesterday. Another fantastic week of college football. Coach Prime doesn't hold any punches back when talking about Shiloh. We talk about this defense, this offense, injuries. What a game. But I got to tell you, look, the haters are going to come flooding in. But if you watch the game, you've got to be excited of what lies ahead. And we're going to break down the Big 12 and the road to the Big 12 championship and how this thing could possibly work out. Before we do any of that, though, know what we got to do? Roll it.
I flushed my juice down in the club.
Oh, crushing blow. 2 o'clock in the morning. If they get the dub, I'm going berserk. We're going live. We're getting buck nasty with it. I want you to know, 24-14 was the score with 6 minutes on the clock. It was 24-14 at the start of the fourth quarter, down by 10. Okay, it was 28-24 with about 2 minutes to go. This defense buckled in. Okay, Livingston buckled it down, shut this thing down, was starting to dial some things up, and really locked and loaded. They rushed for over, I think, 200 yards, which is exactly what I said. This team was a primed up UCF, going to run the ball with a better play at quarterback. Okay, he threw for over 200, which we talked about as well. Avery Johnson had not thrown over 200 except I think one other game. Him throwing over 200 was not going to be ideal. What that told us is that, hey, they stopped the run and he was able to make big plays, and that's exactly what happened. The big play at the end there, coming down the little wheel route, was obviously the dagger at the end. But this is a good football team. I mean, from start to finish, this was a blast of a game to watch. Both sides, I believe, were coached well. There were definitely some areas and concerns that you can definitely grow on and things like that. Look, these were expected. We'd go back to that UCF game, the most complete game Colorado's played. Were you expected to get that every single week? Yes and no. I think, look, I don't think that this game completely fell short of that. I feel like, look, this team's better than UCF, so they're going to try you a little bit more, as they did, but you didn't shy away from it. You still continue to stick with it. You still pounded away, down 10, down 14, kind of stayed in it. You never really feel like you're out of it with Shador Sanders in the backfield slinging the rock. But losing Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn, and Amario Miller was absolutely a crushing blow. And we'll get into that because you kind of see it towards the end of the game where Shador is holding on to the ball a lot more. The sacks start to click in, and it's the tempo, the timing is off. So he's having to hold on to a little bit more. Something we talked about a few weeks ago is get the ball faster, get it off faster. These guys need to get separation quicker. Not saying these guys aren't great. You still have Will Shepard and LeJontay Wester, obviously, in the game, and other guys that stepped up, but they're not your normal guys that you're used to throwing to week in and week out. So there's obviously a little bit of growing pains you're trying to figure out throughout the game. And I think in a game like this, and a team like this that is sharp as attack and dialed in, Kansas State is no joke. You heard Joe Klatt say he feels they're the best team in the Big 12, and we'll kind of allude to that here in just a little bit. Look, this game wasn't like the Stanford game of last year or the Colorado State game, which I know they won, but obviously you kind of just feel like they kind of flattened out. This game didn't give me any of those vibes. This game was just a good old football game. And it kind of just came down to the wire, honestly. Came down to the wire. Again, losing these three guys was massive. You lose by far your best player on both sides of the ball. Huge. Big time, a guy that will make a play on any side of the ball when you're down in the count, you need a big play. This is your guy that you go to. When you're driving down the football field with a minute to go or whatever it may be when they go for it on fourth down, you're looking for Travis Hunter. Not having him on the football field is crucial. To be able to come surging back without these three guys should speak volumes to where this team has come and where it is at. So it's a big blow. The haters are going to come flooding into the comments. Welcome. Good to see you. We missed you for the last couple of weeks. Happy to have you back. But this season, somebody asked, like, hey, is the goal still hit a bowl game? Hitting a bowl has been like that. To me, that's a lock. You know what I mean? Like, I'm looking, how do they get to the Big 12 championship? That is still, in my opinion, they're arguably right up there, right? And we're going to kind of do a little path on how they get there. Is that the next clip that I have? No. Get there in just a minute with the Big 12. But let's talk about Shiloh real quick because, again, when asked about it, and this is what I love, too. This is where my appreciation for Coach Prime has always been, is the honesty. They go, hey, how did Shiloh do? He goes, it was horrible. He sucked out there. Didn't have a good step. He was flat. Obviously, Rusty hasn't played in a little bit. And, like, that's refreshing when somebody's – and, again, if this wasn't his son, would he be as transparent about it? Probably not, right? But because it is a son, this is the back and forth of having your sons play for you. Sometimes you're probably a little bit too nice and you amp them up a little bit, but when they play poorly, you also aren't afraid to unload on them. Because who's gonna yell at him? His dad? You know what I mean? Nobody's gonna get mad at Coach Prime at him. It's my kid. I can do whatever I want. So I appreciate his honesty. It was a little rough. I saw some kind of Buff fans in the comments kind of ragging on Shiloh. I've always been a big fan of him. I really enjoy watching him play. He's so electric, so quick, so fast. He did not look like himself on Saturday, and I'm really excited to see what he's able to do to bounce back. So, also real quick though, I do want to talk about this because obviously it was a massive recruiting weekend. We've talked about it all week. Big time people were there, and you're probably thinking, okay, well that's gonna be bad for the recruit because of the outcome of the football game. I can promise you, the scoreboard on the final score does not affect recruiting like you think it would. Does it help? For sure. But sometimes, and even Coach Prime said, it's like sometimes you may have won the game, but the scoreboard says otherwise. And that's how it felt. Now, stat-wise, Kansas City dominated the game, but just the way that Colorado plays, they never truly felt out of it. But what I want to talk about is Jordan Seaton. That man has become a true talent. He's still going to get burned. He's a true freshman. He has his moments, right? But if I am a offensive lineman and I'm seeing what Jordan Seaton has done at left tackle, and part of it is just because he's just a true raw talent, you got to be at all like these guys are really developing these guys to go to the next level. And so I think this game still spoke volumes to recruit, which is absolutely massive, regardless of the outcome of the game. And it's crazy to think when you see just the cameras zoom into Colorado and just how electric it is. Really cool to see, really fun to watch. But let's break this thing down, okay? Let's take a look at this Big 12 and how this thing lines up because it's kind of crazy. We've got BYU, Iowa State, and Texas Tech all undefeated. Then you got three teams, maybe a few more. No. One more team that has one loss, but they're beneath Colorado, so I wasn't too concerned. One of those teams is Cincinnati. The other one's West Virginia. West Virginia just lost to Iowa State. I think West Virginia will drop a few more. They're 3-3. So West Virginia could be a little bit finicky, but I'm not too concerned about them. Okay, Oklahoma State's 0-3, one of the teams that I had up there, and Utah's 1-2. Let's just put that into perspective here for just a second. And Arizona, who Colorado plays this week, is 1-2 in the Big 12 as well. What really honestly frustrates me is Colorado does not play a team above them, I don't believe, unless they play Texas Tech. They do play Texas Tech. I disregard. So they play Texas Tech, but Texas Tech also plays Iowa State. So one of those guys, my point is that one of those guys will knock one of them off the board, right, to one loss. I'm looking at how do you get into the final game? How do you get into the championship game here, right? BYU is what concerns me. They play Utah, they play Oklahoma State, bottom of the barrel. UCF, bottom of the barrel. Utah hasn't looked great, but that game's at Utah. We're going to be, big Ute fans that day. Big Ute fans. Kansas has not looked great. Arizona State, that one's going to be a big one. At that point, you're probably going to want BYU to beat Arizona State to get rid of another one-loss team that's ahead of you, okay? BYU, then Houston, irrelevant at BYU. So BYU has a very smooth slate outside of that Utah and Arizona State game, okay? But you got to be BYU fans that week. Iowa State, this is what makes this fun, though. This is what you're here for. Again, people counting for the big bowl game. I'm not counting bowl games here, okay? UCF, wash. Texas Tech. That one's going to be an interesting one. That's going to eliminate a defeated team, so it does not matter. Ideally, what we need to have happen, Iowa State beat Texas Tech, Colorado beat Texas Tech. Texas Tech's now out of the question with 2 losses, right? BYU beats Arizona State. There's 2 losses. They're out of the question. So now it's BYU and Iowa State. They're undefeated. That's where problems come into play. Kansas State and Iowa State play each other, okay? It's going to be tough. This is what sucks is that Colorado could play fantastic and be on the outside looking in, right, from the Big 12 championship. However, if Colorado wins out, right, they're sitting at 10-2. Their remaining schedule at once looked extremely intimidating to what most people would say. Colorado, Arizona. Arizona's favorite right now, but I like Colorado by a lot. Colorado, Cincinnati at Colorado. I like Cincinnati. Colorado at Texas Tech, gonna be a big one. I mean, I still like Colorado. Utah at Colorado. I like Colorado. Utah has not looked like what they looked at the beginning of the season. Kansas did not look good. And then Oklahoma State at Colorado. You finish 10-2, you could be squeaking in. You could be looking at a playoff spot potentially. But the thing is just thick right now, and you want an opportunity to play into that Big 12 championship. So Colorado has to win out, and a lot of good things have to happen in front of them. Right now, they do not control their destiny, which I'm not a fan of. And it's almost like they need to get rid of what needs to happen. They need to go to a 9-conference schedule. That's what has to happen because there's not enough teams playing each other. That's the big issue here. The fact that BYU, Iowa State, and Colorado no 3 cross paths, right? That's what's causing a big ruckus here because you get 2 teams in there that will never even see each other. So not enough slaughtering around for me in my opinion. So it's going to be interesting to watch week in, week out. It's going to be an absolute blast. I tell you, it's going to be so much fun, but they're not out of it by any stretch of the imagination. Again, playoff is the goal, is what I'm looking at, is the expectations. I know people are saying 6 in a bowl game. I mean, I can close my eyes and throw a dart and hit 2 wins. You know what I mean? Like that's not a question for me. That's not a question for me. Bowl game was never the way this team has looked. Bowl game isn't a thought process at all. It's how do you get to the playoffs? What does that layout look like? And look, this is something that people talked about. Could you go 10-2? You're on the outside looking in. Let's say one of the teams that gets in has 1 loss in the Big 12. They take a second loss, but that loss comes late. They may knock them out of that seeding, right? Let's say Colorado's sitting at 15 or 14 or 13, and Kansas State's at 12, and BYU's undefeated, and BYU beats Kansas State. Kansas State naturally is going to fall back, it could be where it's like, hey, it's almost better not to make it. So it's a long way to go. Long way to go, game by game. That's how Coach Prime's taking it. But I know a lot of fans are kind of looking into it, and I wanted to take a look and see. So it will be interesting to see on all. I mean, it sucks that the score ended the way that it did, but this team still looks weakened. It's still growing. It's still getting better. With what happened, the injuries that happened, it been very easy to fold and fall backwards. This Kansas State team is a well-coached, well-disciplined team. And again, to me, it didn't feel like it was a sloppy game. It was just 2 good teams going at it, and one team pulled out. It's what's going to happen. So another big one next weekend, 4 p.m. kickoff. Colorado at Arizona. Arizona's favored right now, so keep your eyes on that one. We'll see how that plays out as the game gets closer. But Colorado's got a couple big ones left ahead of them. But hope you guys enjoyed the content. Be sure to smash the like button, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace and love, baby.